Kia ora, whānau I roto te ipurangi tēnei wā, kia ora koutou. Ko Kura Te Waru-Rewiri ahau no Ngāpuhi nui tonu me Ngāti Kahu ki Whangaroa me Ngāti Raukawa hoki. I'm really pleased to join everybody today because I was one of the original Te Ātinga committee members or volunteer artists on that committee in the 19-something 80s. And to see how far everything has progressed has been fabulous and energetic and positive, and everybody's doing things in such a way that it's all embracing, bringing us all together. Ngā mihi kia koutou mō tō mahi I tēnei wā. Where am I? I'm based at Palmerston North, at the kaiwhakahaere or program leader for Toi o Hoki Apati, one of the Māori art schools that was set up in the 1990s. Our program started in 1995, and Brother Bob, Young Kate, and Shane Cotton were the first kaiako tutors, lecturers for this program, and we say that we are kaupapa Māori driven. That has been developed over the last 25 plus years, and it's very interesting because we just starting to relink with the other Toi Haukura. I think Toi Haukura was the first one, the first Māori school with Sandy Edsett and Derek Ladelli. Tāwera, you'd know the others. I can't remember, lost my remember. So it's been a very privileged experiences that I've had as a Māori art educator, because my focus has been in the last 10 years on supporting mahi toi learning in the tertiary sector since 19-something. Yeah. You know, so you can tell as one of the originals of the Te Ātinga committee back in the 1980s. Yeah, I was privileged enough to be able to travel over to Hawaii with Eric Tamipo to start the first cultural exchange from the Pacific Rim with our over there in Hawaii. And we brought them here to our shores and about, actually, it was an exciting time because Te Māori, Te Hokinga Mai had just come back home, and so it was a time of, what do you call it, putting our foot where it needed to be as a kai mahi toi. And getting support from the Creative New Zealand MASPAC to do that. And of course, all of that, you know, there's a whakapapa to all of this. There's a whakapapa to everything that we've done. And to be sitting with you, Linda, and Tāwera, and Regan, and Dorothy, it's making me think I better not talk too long. I'm going to share my screen just to show you some of my my works. Is that okay?
Right, that's awesome, Kura. Thank you, Kura, for starting us off. Just for those who have just joined, this is Kōrero Toi, and we're really honoured to have Kura present today alongside Tāwera Tahuri and Linda Munn and Thank you, Kura, for starting, and we'll just pass it over to you with your presentation.
So, it's old-fashioned. It's a PowerPoint. This is one. I don't want to go through the whole lot, but I started painting in 1985, and I was living in Ōtautahi at the time, a very vibrant Polynesian Māori Pacifica community, and I think that it was one of the best places that I've ever lived in, because I was able to chuck away all that I had been trained to do and start again and make it appropriate to our people, especially in areas like Ōtautahi in the South Auckland area. And our community, as I say, was really lively politically, artistically, and every other iling. And politically as well. You know, we had the Waitangi Action Committee at our Kōkiri Centre in Ōtautahi. This first week, of course, my upbringing was mainly in Whangaroa and in a small town called Kaeo, and I was brought up in Waitangi until the age of 15. And then when I started out as an artist, that I wanted to say was that I felt an obligation to look at the treaty and grow my work from there. So my response in this work is to the influence of Christianity and how it kind of was a major component of our colonisation. And the work is also signatures from the treaty. Next image is it's a bit blurry. I don't know how I can refocus it. But my conceptual development was from the treaty, and then I looked at Christianity and the impact of Christianity on our losses, and then on where I come from, the Te Hāhi Rāta, and I had a big influence in terms of our, I suppose, consciousness, political consciousness, and social consciousness. And this week is in reference to the pilgrimage to Rātana Pā in Whanganui of my tūpuna who used to make an annual pilgrimage to Rātana Pā. And the middle panel is just like 4 pools at Dawson Falls at Taranaki, which incidentally, not incidentally, whakapapa waisai, whakapapa to Taranaki through my great-great-great-grandfather, Hinari King, and he married my whaitūpuna, Pēti Rudolph, and Pēti Rudolph is acknowledged as our matriarch for our hapu, Ngāti Pakahi, and Ngāti Uru was there before Ngāti Pakahi. I acknowledge Ngāti Pakahi as my my hapu. And throughout my studies, I went to art school in Christchurch, Ilam School of Fine Arts, and in 1970, met up with Tamiiti and Eruerenia and Wally Tairakena and Te Mahuri Chadwick and a few others. And we had a really good relationship with the University Māori Club, because we were very much part of that too. And we formed a Ngātama Tuatoru there in Christchurch, and for some reason I was the one who had to stay home, while the guys travelled, and to Auckland, to Wellington. Irinia also had connections with Ngāti Pōneke at the time, so he was very instrumental in starting that up too, with, I think it was with Manos Nathan at the time. But, this image is in reference to a thesis that I did, or not knowing how to do even write. It was like at art school, we did a 4-year diploma, and in the 4th year you get invited back to do honours, and I had to do a thesis, and I looked at our taonga from the north and the Stone Age time when, not Stone Age, when they used the stone tools, and so I acknowledged our taonga from the north, which has gone home to the north, which is really important, and it was also present in Te Māori, and I talk about privileges. I had the privilege to work with Te Hopinga mai at the Auckland Art Gallery in 1987, and being amongst the taonga was an experience that was to influence me for the rest of my practice and even my teaching. From the Christian influence and the connections to Te Hāhi Rātana, the kōrero was from my father's generation, the lack of ture wairua. Everything was on the level of ture tangata, so it influenced my thinking and my work, and I started to work with what I saw as being the intangible presence of wairua to give myself balance, because it seemed like that without ture wairua in Te Ao Māori context, I wasn't balanced. So, so that my generation have been acknowledging that presence for some time now. And I think prior to that too, it was being acknowledged but not coming out. So my emphasis on wairua was about my well-being, my stability as wahine toi or mana wahine. And so it was important to get that balance. I'm just zooming through things here. And this is in reference to a trip I made to the Hopi with the late Cliff Whiting and our Sandy and Manos, Diane Prince and I travelled with them over to New Mexico under the Te Waku Toi setup, and we were again doing the cultural exchange. So these upright things are like the portals, entry points. I had a fabulous experience with the Mesa people. They had a very powerful sacred site that I couldn't go into. Oh, we had Matiu Mareikura with us too. And he was our tohunga for travelling, and we opened an exhibition in Phoenix. It was really hot, and we travelled up to the Mesa, stayed there in the hotel that they had, and lo and behold, we met a group from Aotearoa, and there was my Auntie Dorothy, Auntie Dorothy Flavel from Kaeo, and I was surprised that she recognised me. She, Kora, that was my name I was born with. But so the experiences, I think, and the challenges for me as an artist is whether I keep myself in a box or not. And so I wanted to look at a box and gave it a title, and I don't know why I gave it now. And it was transparency and the interlinking of cubes that I suppose was an expression of my mixed whakapapa. And trying to come to terms with that too, you know, being German on one side, my whaia tupuna Peti Rudolph was half German, and her father was William Rudolph, and her mother was Kōrero, who was a chieftainess from Whangaroa, from Tahu. That's our Tahu is my marae tutu, I suppose. So the challenges were for me about being visibly Māori in my work, and this is in reference to Kahu, and of course I go back to the cross, the fraudulent signature of the cross, and the blanket as an item of exchange for land. And my investigation with Kauwhata was quite tentative and late in my career. So I'm still thinking around with Kauwhata from now and then. And yeah, so I think that's enough from me now. Tēnā?
Tēnā koe kura. I'm sorry that you have to rush through your images, and I'm sure we could spend hours listening to your kōrero and the depth of your experience in mātauranga. So thank you for sharing those. And if we can, we'll come back to them afterwards. We're just a bit time sensitive this time, as Tāwera and Linda have to leave soon. But I just want to acknowledge you, Kura. Thank you for coming and sharing and being with us today. As a young schoolgirl, your mahi, along with Emily Karaka and Robin Kahu, were the very few wahine Māori artists that were out there presented to us as young students. So your work has been a strong catalyst for a lot of up and coming artists. And I'm sure Tāwera and Linda will agree. You've inspired generations. So it's an honour to have you here today, Kura. And we'll come back, we'll have a kōrero again shortly. Thank you. But for now, we'll shoot over to Linda Munn. Kia ora, Linda. Glad to have you here today. You're just on mute, so if you can unmute. And Tāwera's prepared some images. Tāwera, did you, when Linda's ready, would you like to share those from your screen? Okay. Kia ora, Linda.
I wrote notes to myself, more for myself than anyone else. But so kupu kairo te maunga ko matatua te waka, ko tahu whakatiki te pā, ko romai noho rangi te wharepuni. Kia ora. I am also from Ngāpuhi, Ngāti Manu, ki Kāretu, and I'm from Parihata ki Ngāi Tahu. Oh wow. I just listening to Kura, and I think my earliest, I suppose, journey to being part of that, I suppose, the generation after you, Kura, was in Otara at Te Rahutanga with Hilda Hone and joining the Black Women's Movement down there, and then becoming part of Whakahu, which then we all moved to the whānau and we became Te Kawariki. So I went to school in Christchurch, very different place culturally, and so I went from not knowing anything to jumping in to this whole hot pool of activism, Māori activism, the best education I could have ever had. So kia ora, Kura. That was a heady time, those 80s. But when I moved to Kaitaia, I started out, I think that's when my first real foray into mahi toi began in 87, doing uku. I was lucky enough to, I think Manos found me, I didn't find him. And he actually was the one who helped me, I suppose, on my journey around whakapapa and identity as well. And Hiraina and I and Paparangi Reid, we went to the first kaihanga uku hui in Tukumaru Bay, was at Bay Riddell's bookshop. So that was my journey into uku, and it hasn't really stopped. But I think in 95, the girls, some of my sisters, older ones, like Jan, decided I was going to go to art school. So they enrolled me into art school in Whangaroa at Applied Arts with our most awesome Alan Wihongi. And that's where I met Dorothy. And Dot attended there as well. And that's actually how I met Tawira, because we did a collaboration with Toiho Kura in 97 or over in at Ahiri. But we made a trip down there to see them all, and with Sandy, Derek, and that's, I think Tawira and Hina, I think they were all still students, Tawira. I think we all were. But I think my earliest influences were, like you reckon, it was Kura, Robin, Whai Robin, Whai Emere, as well as the likes of Manos, Witaiapa, and Auntie Anne Philbin from Whangaroa. She's one of my biggest mentors and supporters to get through. But and because that led us to the journey of tino, of our kara, and that journey. That's a whole nother story around that. But I think I love the fact that I don't even think that Jan and Hiraina, myself, and even Te Kaweriki knew the extent that kara would have on Māori and non-Māori. I don't know what else to say. So yeah. Oh, some of that work is from years and years ago. The new works I'm doing at the moment, I'm trying to discipline myself, which those who know me really well, it is a big job. But in terms of painting, I've decided to go a little bit more detailed, learning more around the uku, what makes it up, the pigment that we use to paint with. But interesting. Yeah, pretty nice. I didn't realise those were around. Funny. But and I was privileged enough too to be in Toi Tu Toi Ora, which was curated by our whanaunga Nigel. So that was a really great experience to be in that show with all our so it was quite historic actually, with the different timelines and different generations of artists that were in there. It was just it's really great. Oh, I'm reading the stuff that's on this aroha mai. But politically, never, old activists don't die, we just get worse, and the fight doesn't stop. So I'm still doing what I've always done, making and community, looking after our babies. Oh yes, and I'm on this trust. Te Tuhi Maraikura, we have a big trust that so this is our third year of running the International Tato Indigenous wānanga, which this year is totally a bit different. We're running it as a festival, and that we don't connect to the tattoo conventions anymore. Yeah, and we made that waharo. It was a great project. So this is some of our other First Nation whānau who I keep in contact with all the time. And it's funny how we all know the same people because we're all brown. But yeah, these are some of my favourite people in the whole wide world, besides you. But yeah, it's lovely to see them all. So that runs, and we're running that in September. And it's a huge project. It's a huge event. And at the moment, what I'm doing at the moment is we run a program by our trust to support rangatahi who have been excluded from mainstream schooling. So we've set up a program around mahi toi and it's tikanga based. So our goal is to get our rangatahi back into school, so they're not floundering or being somewhere where they're not supposed to be. But that's about me. Kia ora.
That's wonderful, Linda. Thank you.
Thank you, Tāwera. Kia ora.
Kia ora, Tāwera, on the fly.
That's the best I could do.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you, sister. So appreciate it. Ngā mihi.
We'll hopefully have time for some just general kōrero afterwards, after Tāwera's kōrero too. So, yeah, be beautiful to hear a bit more from you, Linda. And we'll just flip over to Tāwera for now. Usually I do introductions, but we've cut it short and everyone's doing their own. So, aneira te whāriki, ko whakatakutohia, Keo koe te wā Tāwera, ki nā koe e whā. You just have to unmute.
Oh, I knew that was going to happen. Tēnā tātou mai te tihi o tōku maunga haumia, tēnei te mihi mahana, kia tātou katoa, rere ana, waku awa, manga maia, manga papa, uru kokomuka, tūhono ki te awa o manga tū. Tū te whare o te ngāwari, ko te pautoko manawa, ko tamanui te tipuna, ko tamanui te tangata, ko tamanui te pāpā, o te hapu, o te iwi, o ngā ariki kaipūtahi, nō reira tēnei te mihi. Mai te taho tōku māma, he mihi anō mai te tihi o tōku maunga arua pehu. Rere ana te waimarino, ko Ngāti uenuku te iwi, no tūwhare tō hoki a hau I tērā taha. Ai, ko Tāwera Tahuri a hau. Just want to mihi to tō tātou kōka a kura. Like Regan and Linda, I also was heavily influenced by your work and totally honoured to be in the same space as you. And yes, as a young Māori art student, it was artists such as yourself, our wahine, Emere Karaka Hoki, Robin, who inspired me and gave me, empowered me, I suppose, in terms of my own developing art practice at the time. Yeah, I am lost for words, really. Linda is also a huge influence in my life in terms of her activism and her art forms. So honoured to also be in the same platform as you are, my sister, and grateful for the empowerment that you bring, not only myself but wahine Māori, o tira Tiwi Māori, o te ao katoa. Your work has been truly groundbreaking, and so grateful for that. Yeah, and Regan, what can I say? Regan is probably one of the most prolific artists I know, and just so excited by the manner in which you produce your work, and your process is amazing. Just quickly about myself, I did, yes, met Linda back in the end of my art student days at Toi Haukura. My mentors were Sandy Adset, Derek Lardelli, Steve Gibbs, and of course inspired by the likes of Kura, Bob Yonkema. All of these people were a part of my journey as a young artist. I currently am working in corten steel, powder coated, hand painted, and sculpture. So I sort of went into this kaupapa as a response really to my PhD, and which the kaupapa is the kumara, hence the title He Kumara Awau, which is a reference to the East Coast, but also I argue that the kumara does not boast of its own sweetness as a post-colonial construct designed really to keep us down. And so, all going well, I will get rid of the procrastination and have that sorted this year, and presented so I can move on with my life. But it's also a reference to my mother and her peoples, Ngāti Uenuku. I was born in Ōtautahi, in a staunchly rātana whānau. My nanny Ngaronoa, Aranoa, is actually Morehu from Ahipara, hence my connection to Kura, and I'm so proud. I'm so proud of that connection. Although I'm yet to be introduced properly to that side of my whānau, I look forward to that. Ngāti Uenuku features in terms of the use of colour, and it always has really. And the first work that Kura showed was one of the works that really inspired me. The symbolism, the colour, and the use of the washes and the dripping paint, which had a huge influence on the work that I do. Yeah, I've also recently been doing some digital work, a series of kuri. I have one kuri that's currently, well, it's just finished actually in the Wahine Activist Artists Show. And it's a reference to ancestral dogs in the Tairāwhiti, and my connections to them. But it's a reference mainly to sovereignty and to tino rangatiratanga, and that we are the determiners of our own future, of our own sovereignty. So whakakākahutia ki te mawhiti is a reference to that the sacred, the chiefly dogskin cloak that was reserved for our rangatira. However, I'm saying that you determine whether or not you encloak yourself with that. So yeah, worked in silver. So I was taught by some pretty amazing people. Rina Kirikiri has been spending time teaching me the art of adornment, and this sterling silver piece here was a part of a set of earrings, that my first earrings that I made, hand cut. And then I've also been working with 3D printing. This is a copper disc that I made called Dismantle the Doctrine of Discovery. Dismantling the Doctrine of Discovery has become kind of at the forefront of my mahi today and the way I express it. So this piece here was an experiment with oxidization in copper. Here's another viewpoint of the 7-piece, actually, a sculptural installation entitled He Kumara Awai, that I was so proud to have installed alongside my peers in Whitireia at the investiture of Sir Derek Lardeli, one of my mentors in Papa. So grateful for that opportunity and honour. I also paint. My mantra, be a good ancestor, comes from the 7th Generation Fund for Indigenous Peoples, of whom I'm a director. And so in line with that, I think everything that I do as an artist is really to in that endeavour to be a good ancestor, and that I would like for my future to look back and hold me accountable, really, for my works as a good ancestor. So basically, you know, I don't want to wait till I'm dead. Do the mahi now. Yeah, another quick glimpse at one of my first Corten steel sculptures, which was entitled Kawhawhai Tonu Mātou Ake Ake Ake, and this was inspired after the hikoi, the TPPA hikoi from Te Reinga to Tāmaki and Katai ka hoki atu I hoki atu mātou ki Waitangi, and that's where I met some of my nannies from Ahipara for the first time, that early morning start, and that was huge for me. It was a huge life-changing experience. So she's a reference to those nannies, the nannies who have led and inspired, hence the tefa tefa here, and that signalling staff as tohu of leadership, and those nannies were loud and clear at that particular hikoi. Some more of my mixed media works, paintings, the po shape is a tohu that has become a part of my mahi, and it's a direct reference to Tamanui, my ancestor Tamanui, eponymous ancestor who led our people really to victory, and was one of the last Stone Age rangatira of the Tairāwhiti of the Mangatu area. So the abstracted form of that po toko manawa that I referenced in my mihi will features in literally all of my work. Yeah, again, some more adornment. I'm a bit of a hautatu, and yeah, I mean, I could go on, but I don't want to. Needless to say, I enjoy being creative, and I enjoy new mediums. I'm not afraid to push boundaries and try new things. Here you can see I even had a tutu with glass blowing with Dan Friday, who was so amazing and patient enough to take us under his wing and teach us a few things at the Longhouse at Evergreen State College. So there's glass frit here, which has been applied to my vessel, my first glass vessel. Yeah, so that's kind of everything really in terms of my art forms. But yeah, I'm a magpie. These pieces of wood were scraps that I picked up from the carving room space at an Indigenous gathering that we attended, and Linda attended too, actually, and Regan. And there were all these amazing conversations going on within the carving room. And so I saw all these faces in these pieces, and so I created these. And these are faces from the carving room floor and then of course I painted them. So yeah, it's true, you know, when people say that sometimes artists can be quite crazy. It's an actual fact, we're actually just overly creative. Yeah, and I see images, and my whole world, I suppose, is made up of images, and so I love to make sense of the world with these images, and by creating new images, really. And just quickly, there are these po here. I had received permission from my kaumātua at the time to do a plaster cast of our Pōtiki manawa, and this was for my master's degree with Te Pūtaiao Toi, of which Kura was one of my lecturers, and this was turned into a mold, a fiberglass mold. So I created the molds, the fiberglass po, and then the application of enamel and 140 sheets of gold leaf on the central one. And then you'll be able to see that abstracted form in its beginning stages here, that I then translated into future work, printmaking, painting. These forms came out of my first year of my master's, and they were waka that sat upon these mountainous forms. The X's were reminiscent really of Kura's work and what I learnt from her work in terms of the treaty, and I thought it was such a powerful image, so that features a lot in my current work. Tēnei te mihi aroha kia koe koka. This was my first year of my master's, and yeah, I'm just a range of different mediums, painting styles, drawing, performing artist as well. Have been a recipient of a Creative New Zealand Arts Grant for a residency at the Longhouse at Evergreen State. Yeah, and that's me. Kia ora.
Wow, kia ora.
Tēnā koe tāwera, and it's awesome to be able to see the scope of your work. And when you talk about prolific artists, actually tāwera, prolific must be in your middle name, because you're constantly moving and constantly evolving and always creating something. And even at those conferences and those gatherings, you know, you're always moving and making stuff and creating series upon series. So thank you for sharing and offering a glimpse and insight into your mahi and the scope of your work. And when we, all of you have a common theme, I guess, why we've brought you all together today. And I'm sure everybody can see that strength of activism in all of your mahi that you bring through constantly. And Linda, you talked about coming from, you know, a journey of activism, actually being on the hikoi and fighting for our whenua and our mana motu hake. And the haki brings in Hiraina and Jan all the time, brings them back. So we remember them, and you being the morehu to carry that legacy forward. It's so beautiful to you know, that you continue to be the face, because I know it's you know, e tai wā he taumaha, you know, it's quite a big kaupapa to carry. So just want to mihi to you and all of you for the stand that you make in your work. Tāwera, you know, the Indigenous mahi that you do overseas and continue on, and kura throughout many years you've been making stands, right from that time when you and a group of artists stood up and refused to exhibit, actually, in a really highly profiled exhibition. So I'm just putting all those kind of bites out there for you all, and I'm just going to let you all kōrero. Ka pai? Perhaps we'll start with Linda.
Oh, you want me to talk? Yeah, I'm a bit like Tāwera. I'm really overwhelmed, and I feel so privileged to be sharing space with you. As always, when we're all together, it's amazing what we do have in common. You know, we have the same. For me, it's about setting up our succession plans, which are our tamariki, our mokopuna, our tuarua, and even children that we take under our wing. You know, I have so many whāngai. So for me, that's being really political too, and looking after our babies and our wahine. There's just so much work to do that it is like, yeah, it's a bit, yeah. It's like the kaupapa of the haki. It's yeah, there's a lot. It's a lot for all of us. It's all of our responsibility though, to ensure the health and well-being of all our people, our community. And then it makes for a great art. Because, you know, like our sister Tāwera said, we're all crazy. Now, I'm not in denial about that. I'm probably one of the most cray ones of all of us, but being an artist helps interpret that struggle, or I say crazy, but it's like sometimes you just need a space you can go to, and being an artist is the one space that we can go and be quite solitary as well, because sometimes we just need to step out of the world for a little bit, especially as we're all really, really busy with all our different mahi. So that's all I've got to say for now.
Well, I'll come in here because there's so many things that have happened over the last 50 or so years. And when I realised that there were quite a few 50-year anniversaries, I went, oh, you know, we had a 50th anniversary of the student group that went over to China. And we had Piri Sia, myself, Marama Rewiti, and Maria Yankovic, I think it was, and she was a lawyer. But, you know, and then we had the 50th anniversary plus of Ngā Tamatoa gathering in last January in Tauranga Moana. And it was amazing because we were all so diverse and different from each other that I wondered how we got on with each other at all. And of course, you know, as I said in my presentation, I had to stay home while the guys went and did things for us to have our presence felt in the Ngā Tamatoa movement and all the political things that were happening. So, but in 1981, I was teaching in Rotorua, married, had 2 sons, and that was the tour. And so those of us who were in Rotorua at the time decided we would do a protest march through Rotorua. And I was teaching at a school that was a rugby school, and I was teaching what's his name? Yeah, I've got to remember things. But he's from Shelford, this way. His brother, and they were on the other side. We were walking down the street, and we were thinking, oh, if they start chucking tomatoes, that'll bring up pits. But there wasn't any reaction that I thought was going to be pretty bad. And so those times in my life, anyway, have been revisited time and time again. And in the recent exhibition at the North Art Gallery, Linda, and I was thinking before I went put work into, okay, what am I going to do? Oh, I've already done that. You know, oh, what am I being involved in that's recent? And it was, I suppose it was to do with the Cody dieback, ngāhere. And it's really important because it's part of the issue that we have with addressing issues of climate change and how they're going to impact on us at our marae. You know, so I keep in touch with everybody because I'm the marae chairperson for Ngāti and on the Toi Ngāpuhi board with Dorothy and go to the Rūranga meetings via Zoom. So, you know, it's kind of amazing really through technology how we can keep in touch with our grassroots and still be a tono to your whānau up there. But, and, you know, that's all this stuff impacts on the work and how you want to come across to your whānau first, because I don't, you know, I've been around for a while, I don't think they understand where I come from with the kaupapa that I've worked with. And as I said before, it was in the treaty, because I felt that as someone who was brought up in Waitangi, I needed to. It was my responsibility to draw my kaupapa from the treaty, you know, from Te Tiriti. And of course, my father was very active in the Waitangi area too. He built the stone chair where the signing took place, and he was commissioned by Te Waka Toi by Cliff Whiting to do that Whangaroa on the marae there. And when I was a kid, Dad was working in the forestry, and we went back and forwards to Ngāti because my grandmother wanted me every weekend. So, but he was working at the forestry, and he came across a lot of taonga in the ditches or in drains in the forestry, and he put them into the Waitangi treaty house, and we were promised free entry for the rest of our lives of tika. That was one of the worst tika that they could have, you know, said to us, because to go up there, nah, they don't even know who my father was, you know. There's no record of who delivered the taonga to the treaty house there. So, yeah, the whole thing's bloody tika. So, Linda, haere tōne, keep doing what you do. Tāwera.
Kura.
Yeah.
We do it because you do it.
Oh. I think you fellas was doing it really well. Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I think when I walk in a room, people just crap themselves. They go, "Uh-oh,
Trouble."
Yeah. Yeah. Let them think that, because I usually do the opposite fire.
Yeah. Well, your Auntie Bess.
Yes.
She was my school teacher.
I know.
You know, and she was really she is lovely.
She's still at Kōrero, still out there.
Yeah.
You know that new museum, our taonga in there, and we have to pay to go in to see our own taonga because it's there for safekeeping. But I didn't. I just made a big fuss. No, why should we whakapapa there, pay to see our own taonga that were given by our tupuna, eh?
Yeah.
No, have to go there and make sure they got a little something there for your dad, you know? Yeah, you got to remind these people, you got to go in, stop your toe and remind them of whose land they're on, always. always. So my favourite T-shirt, you're a liar, colonizer.
Yeah.
I'll get
Cool.
a T-shirt.
Well, this image behind me is by Rere Moana Renata, my mother's first cousin, and her father, our connection with the Renata whānau is that Hapata Renata was one of the first Wesleyan Methodist Church Māori ministers in Whangaroa, in Kaeo, and he converted over to the Rātana. And I think that's the heavy influence that we have in Whangaroa of the halls. You know, we don't have any carved buildings, but there is a push up home for Marae to start thinking about building carved buildings. But yeah.
So it's so important drawing from your kainga and sharing those stories. We've got a couple minutes left before Tāwera and Linda have to leave, so maybe we'll just pass it to Tāwera quickly.
Yeah.
I'm just enjoying listening to Kura and Linda. I mean, hika, I could do this all afternoon, to be honest. And I don't mind. I really don't mind missing my next kaupapa really to support this. And I'm thinking, just carry on, just keep going, because opportunities like this are so important. And I totally want to acknowledge that. So yeah, don't mind me. I'm not going anywhere. I'm in for the long haul.
I would stay, but they're coming into my house.
Oh,
I can make them sit over there and be quiet.
Well, before you go, Linda, just want to say a big thank you for joining up today. Aha kua te iti he pounamu, and it's been a really special day having you join us. So feel free to leave when you need to.
One day I might be really organised too and have like pretty pictures and stuff. One day. No, not when I've got beautiful friends who can back me up.
Oh, I tried.
Awesome, but
my
I
friend.
miss you. So miss you.
I miss you too. I miss you all.
Yeah, I miss you.
Everyone. I miss our whānau, our gatherings.
Yeah, I love making art together.
Yes, hopefully we can do that in the near future.
Yeah.
But I'll probably just sneak out the back door when you're in the middle of something. But I love you heaps, and thank you for inviting me, Regan. So cool to hang out with you, Whaikura, and with my sister.
Yeah. Kia ora, Linda.
Awesome, Linda.
Okay.
Kia ora rehua.
Yeah. Kura, you created some passionate wahine here. You were a part of that creation.
Your fault, but
yeah, you set you were the trailblazer for us to follow, and man, just inspiring. I was thinking about those nannies, with the ake piece, that wahine with the tefa. Those nannies. I had arrived at Taringa, must have been 1 o'clock in the morning, and I had parked in the car park. So I was waiting for the beginning of that hikoi, and I had no idea what to expect. All I knew was I was there, and I'm just going to wait here, sleep in my car until I hear something. And, the first thing I heard was Nani Mere and Nani Mere Ana.
Oh.
And they were walking up the road, and I heard them before I saw them. And Kauwhawhai tonu mātou. Ake. Kauwhawhai tonu mātou. Ake. And it was just intense. And I remember it went straight to my wairua. I was just like, sat up, jumped out of the car, grabbed my flag, and I ran around the corner. And that's what I saw. I saw these two kuia walking up the road with their whakaputanga and their tino flags, going for it. And we hadn't even started the hikoi yet. But I realised now this, this is the intensity I'm feeling now. There's no way I'm not going to participate in this. And then, of course, so began my journey with them, that reconnection, I suppose. But, you know, I just wanted to bring their names and acknowledge their names, because they actually inspired me more than I think they might realise. And of course, you know, Ruben, there were a few other people there, Matohone, and yourselves, of course. So, yeah, and since then, you know, I've been on a number of other hikoi and protests, actions, and all I can say is, if it is to progress the work of Indigenous peoples, then I'm for it, you know. And if it will elevate the importance of Papa Tuanuku and our taiao, and our role as Indigenous peoples as kaitiaki and guardians, then I'm all for it. And yeah, just thank you for that work that you did about the Kauri dieback kuka, because it's such an important mahi. Yeah, totally tautoko and acknowledge that work. Yeah.
I thought it might have been a bit too subtle, but I think there is strength in subtlety, and I suppose that's always been my battle, to how I present myself in my painting. So it's anyway, we have to keep doing it. And I just saw a comment here from James at Ormsby, because one of the most challenging mahi that I've ever done was to lead a project team to do a whare. And I'll tell you, it brought out all sorts of stuff. And what I learned about myself was that it's really good to be half deaf, you know, to be turi, because you don't hear or feel all those things that are not quite supportive of you doing this sort of mahi. You just do it, and you whip your team along, and you make sure that they are safe. You know, so kind of, yeah, the last comment he made was that I hope that you all will continue to keep us all nervous. Ai, Kura, we will. Yeah, even if it's subtle, Tawera. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I have the same problem of I use too much colour, and you know, and for many years, nowhere near as many as yours. I'm only like 30 years young. I was worried about what other people thought, but you kind of get to this point, and it was like, oh, what the heck, you know, I'm doing this for me. I'm not doing this for anyone else. It's my social commentary, and my expression of it. So what the heck, if I want to use too many colours, I'm going to use too many colours, you know, if it's going to express what I am thinking and feeling at the time. Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. So that's me anyway. I know there's lots more can be shared, but there's more times to do that. Yeah. And thank you, Regan, for inviting me to be part of this. I was a little bit nervous, I want to say, and felt like maybe I wasn't prepared enough, but how can you prepare for interacting with those that you know, you feel that you fellas are on the right pathways, you know, you're diverse enough to be coping with everyone and the needs of what your responsibilities are today. You know, you just do it because you've got to do it, and you move into te wā, into that space, and then later you can go and have a moi somewhere and haki roto, haki waho, all of that. Yeah. So thank you very much. I really appreciated being with you, Regan, Tāwera, and Linda, and Dorothy for this, because it takes me back be my time with Te Ātinga as well. And I watch, oh, I don't mean to make you nervous, but I keep watching what's happening, especially in the mediums that you all work with. I'm not very good with digital. No. So I'm still a bit of a, what do you call it, traditionalist. What do I like to call myself in the day? A purist. But that's not good word. No. So, kia ora.
Thank you, Kura. And you know, when I look at your mahi, it speaks so much, it's so loud, and the kōrero is so hohonu and powerful. And then when you speak personally, you speak very gently, so you have to pull up closely and really listen to what you're saying. It's kind of like Moana Jackson, you know, he spoke really quietly, but what he was saying was really profound. And I love that. You know, I love that we can be in that energy, but still be so powerful, you know, and you bring that example for us. And then we have ones that are loud and proud, you know, Tāwera and Linda, that are shouting things from the treetops, you know, and the diversity of us is so beautiful to be able to show and share with an audience. So it's been a beautiful day, and I just want to mihi to you both and Linda for all those tākuha. And these are just snippets. This is just the beginning, and hopefully this will ripple out, and no doubt there'll be so many more opportunities to share. Now people kind of will get an insight into different people's mahi, and no doubt that will you know, create other opportunities. But for now, it's been a very wonderful journey into activism through art, motivation, Indigenous autonomy, and it's this is a kaupapa really close to my heart as well, because my mother was on a lot of the hikoi when I was young. And I would watch through the TV screen while I was living with my nan and see these movements of people, movements of safety for whānau, movements of te reo. So me growing up, those are the images that I understand to be Māori, you know, is that we are powerful people. We can do things, and it just takes the whakaaro and one person to activate and start doing it. And now as an older person, I realize that actually I can't wait for those other people to do it. If you've got an idea, you have to do it yourself, or else it may never get done. And those voices may not be heard. So kura tāwera, Linda, you know, your mahi is evidence of that in action. And nei rā te mihi nui kia koutou katoa kua whakapiri mai me te tākuha e rā taonga nui kia tātou. Nei rā te mihi, tēnā koutou katoa.